Are you serious? Are you serious, guys? Welcome to the Coming Apocalypse. I'm Pastor Paul Begley. We are very serious, and this situation now between Ukraine and Russia, the war and everyone involved, could be a recipe for disaster. Let me tell you all about it in just a second. But first, let's put a shout out right now for chuckdefense.com/Paul. What? chuckdefense.com/Paul. That's right. Have you ever wondered what happened to the legendary Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video he made, and I was shocked. He's in his 80s now, and he's still kicking butt, folks. He's working out. He's staying active. I mean, what's even more shocking is he's stronger and can work out longer and even has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. He did this by just making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife even started doing this one thing too, and she's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger, her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. So Chuck has made a special video that explains everything. Make sure you watch it, guys. Seriously, make sure you watch it by going to the link. I have it in the description below, chuckdefense.com/Paul. That's chuckdefense.com/Paul. By clicking on that link below in the video, it will change the way you think about your health. Totally. I know it did me. Once again, that's chuckdefense.com/Paul, and click on the link in the description below to watch this video now. You won't believe how simple it is. Wow. Okay, guys. Good old Chuck Norris. I mean, he's a good Christian. He's a great patriot. You know, he really loves America and loves the Lord. He's even on the Bible Council for Public Schools. He's on the board of directors there, and so is Israel Hall, by the way. And they are really doing a great work. They've put the Bible now in over 4,000 high schools as a curriculum course, which is really great. Okay, let's talk about what's going on here. This is really critical. Let me tell you, because today Zelensky is going to meet with President Joe Biden in the White House. Well, first of all, he's meeting with Congress right now, members of Congress. He'll then go to the White House and meet with President Joe Biden, and then go and meet with leaders like Defense Minister Lloyd Austin and other military top brass in the Pentagon. So this is a war strategy all the way around. Funding, political implications, and military strategic discussions and strategies. So let me just tell you something. I've been thinking about it. Let's talk about what is going to take place in this meeting. Ukraine's President Vladimir Zelensky will meet with President Joe Biden at the White House this afternoon after heading over to the Capitol Hill to meet with lawmakers who will be asked to continue to fund his nation's defense against Russia. Zelensky met with a bipartisan group of House Representative members this morning and will meet with the senators right now. That's what he's doing right now. In his second trip to Washington since Russia invaded Ukraine in early 2022, Biden and Zelensky will meet in the Oval Office, followed by an expanded bilateral meeting in the East Room that includes Vice President Kamala Harris will also be in attendance. The first ladies of both nations will also be part of this visit. And John Kirby, the National Security Council coordinator for strategic communications, told reporters that Biden is looking forward to hearing a battlefield perspective directly from Ukraine's commander-in-chief, and reiterated that the administration will continue to stand with Ukraine. Kirby said he also expected Zelensky to visit the Pentagon, where he will be meeting with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin and outgoing chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley. Biden previously reiterated support for Ukraine and emphasized that Russia alone bears responsibility for this war. In his Tuesday speech, Zelensky said at the Biden spoke at the United Nations General Assembly in New York, in which I covered that here with you guys, and we went through that. If we allow Ukraine to be carved up, is the independence of any nation secure? I'd respectfully suggest the answer is no, Biden said in his speech. We have to stand up to this naked aggression today and deter other would-be aggressors tomorrow. Now, that is President Joe Biden's position. That is not mine. When asked about a future package for Ukraine, Kirby said that he would not get ahead of the president. And Biden has every expectation of talking to President Zelensky about his needs and about how the United States will continue to meet those needs. When asked whether Army tactical missile systems, a long-range weapon, would be part of an aid package, another aid package, Kirby said they are not off the table. The U.S. has previously rejected providing long-range missiles to Ukraine. Now, Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, he said today that he declined a request from Zelensky to address the joint session of Congress because of the time constraints given the busy legislative week. In remarks first reported, McCarthy also noted that Zelensky had already addressed Congress. He doesn't need to do it again. Okay. Now, what does that mean? What does all this mean? Obviously, I think you have to, everyone would admit that we have spent a lot of money with Ukraine. And we don't know where all that money went. We don't know where all it went. And we don't know how, there's no end in sight. Here's my thing. Look, first of all, Ukraine is not a NATO nation, although they want to be. We have poured billions and billions and billions of dollars, and obviously he's back in Washington again looking for more weapons and more money and everything. So this is this is becoming very, very concerning. It really is. So I sat down this morning and put together my thoughts of what does this all mean geopolitically and biblically? And what does this mean? And can we as Americans actually afford this? And how much of that Ukrainian money is actually, I know a lot of it goes toward the war, but how much of it's still being kicked back to defense contractors, maybe even politicians in Washington? It's something you have to now ask because these types of things have been discussed that are actually, some of it is going on. We don't know who or what, but we know there's just too much money that's unexplained. It needs to be explained. Okay, so I sat down and I put something together. I'd like to share it with you. I'm going to call this the dangers of the Russian-Ukraine war, the geopolitical and biblical perspectives. You see, this ongoing conflict, folks, between Russia and Ukraine has evolved into a multifaceted global crisis with numerous countries taking sides and providing aid to Ukraine. The United States and NATO have been the prominent players in this geopolitical chess game. That's what it is, a chess game, raising concerns about the potential consequences of this escalating conflict. I also think we should explore the dangers of the Russian-Ukraine war, the possibility of it drawing in more nations, and its potential implications for China's stance on Taiwan. We'll also consider the backgrounds, you have to, of President Vladimir Zelensky and President Vladimir Putin as we take a look at the geopolitical and biblical dimensions of this. So let's take a look. Start with the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Now, this all began in 2014 with Russia and annexation of Crimea and the ongoing unrest in eastern Ukraine. I remember when this first happened, and I asked Mike around the world, Where's this going? He said, let me tell you, Russia will never leave Ukraine until they conquer it. And Mike from around the world said, and they will conquer it. This is huge statement by someone who has military intelligence information. So the ongoing unrest in eastern Ukraine has drawn widespread international attention, of course. It has sparked a debate about the balance of power in Eastern Europe and has led to several countries now taking sides and providing support for Ukraine. Now, the United States and NATO have been actively supporting Ukraine in its struggle against Russia. The U.S. has provided military aid, financial assistance, and political support to Ukraine. NATO members states have also supplied weaponry and have conducted joint military exercises with Ukrainian forces in training. So this collective effort is seen by some, and actually by a lot of people, as a counterbalance to Russia's influence in the region and an assertion of Western values. However, this involvement has strained the relations between the West and Russia. Russia views NATO's expansion and U.S. support for Ukraine as a direct threat to its national security, leading to increased tensions on the global stage. The potential for miscalculation or escalation, guys, makes this a volatile situation, if you will, and I'm concerned. The Russian-Ukraine conflict has geopolitical implications that extend far beyond Eastern Europe. It has created a polarizing atmosphere in international politics, which countries such as China and Iran expressing support for Russia, while Western nations are backing Ukraine. The alignment of countries along these lines has the potential to reshape global dynamics. And don't forget Turkey, because they also are supporting Russia from the background. So the international community is closely watching China's actions in the midst of this Russian-Ukraine crisis. The fear is China may seize the opportunity to assert itself in Taiwan Strait, which we've seen them already doing that. Matter of fact, assert themselves in Taiwan, officially known, of course, right now, the official, it's called the Republic of China. Of course, nobody calls it that. We've been calling it Taiwan for, since the end of World War II. They've been independent since 1948. Same year that Israel became a nation, same year that India received its independence from the British Empire. As long been a contentious issue, this whole thing is in U.S. relations. Now, Taiwan considers itself independent, as I said, a sovereign state, but China views Taiwan as a renegade province and has not ruled out the use of force to bring it under Beijing's control. We've heard President Xi say that. The United States, though, is still standing to the status quo. We still hold the one China policy, which maintains unofficial relations, though, we do with Taiwan, but provides military and economic support to Taiwan. So even though we say we believe that this is a one China policy, we support militarily and financially Taiwanese. The concern is that if the Russia-Ukraine conflict, though, was to escalate further, that's what I'm concerned about, it could divert the attention and the resources of the United States and its NATO allies, potentially emboldening China to take action against Taiwan. And the precedent has set by Russia's actions in Crimea when they went in and they took Crimea back and annexed it. Since Russia did it, and nobody did anything about that until Russia invaded eastern Ukraine, this may encourage Beijing to pursue the similar strategy in the Taiwan Strait. To gain a deeper understanding of this Russian-Ukraine conflict and its implications, it is worth examining the backgrounds of the two key figures involved, President Vladimir Zelensky and President Vladimir Putin. Zelensky's a former comedian, guys, a television personality. He came to power in Ukraine in 2019. He ran on the platform of an anti-corruption and reform, promising to bring positive change to the country. Because Ukraine, to be quite honest, is one of the most corrupt countries in the world, has been leading up to this war. Zelensky then ran on an anti-corruption reform, and he won. Zelensky's leadership style has been characterized by his willingness to confront Russia and seek Western support. Yet you have to understand, Zelensky was supported by George Soros, which kind of funded his campaign and helped create this atmosphere to get him elected. Isn't that interesting? So from a biblical perspective, his quest for Ukraine's sovereignty can be seen as it's seen as a manifestation of a desire for a self-determination, for self-ruling government, for freedom values. That seems to be resonating with many countries. But let's look at Putin. I've called him boot scooting, shooting, nuking Putin. You guys have heard me. Well, the reason is you have to understand a little bit about his background. Vladimir Putin, on the other hand, is the former KGB officer who has held power in Russia for over 2 decades. His leadership has been marked by a desire to restore Russia's influence on the world stage. Putin's annexation of Crimea and support for the separatist movement in eastern Ukraine are seen as efforts to regain lost territory and influence. So from a geopolitical standpoint, Vladimir Putin's actions can be seen as a quest to restore Mother Russia. And he even calls himself in his 12-page manifesto before the invasion of Ukraine, he says, I am Peter the Great. He wants to restore Russia's historical dominance in Eastern Europe. So now there's your two different perspectives. A comedian funded by Soros who's trying to get everybody to believe that he's ending the corruption there and fighting back against the evil empire, which is what, excuse me. The evil empire, the evil empire, which is what Ronald Reagan called the Russians. And then on the other hand, yet we don't know where all the money's going. We really don't know. And you have to understand, because before the war started, Burisma is the company that has been sending millions of dollars to Hunter Biden and that connection that went on while President Joe Biden was vice president. We can go into that whole scenario, but when you talk about anti-corruption, yet we still see evidence of potential corruption. So what do you do with this? And then on the other hand, you got Putin who says, look, I'm restoring Mother Russia. I am Peter the Great. And I want to do away with I want to take back, which is really ours. And he went and had a meeting with President Xi Jinping during the Olympics. Well, let me finish. The Russian-Ukraine conflict, with its complex geopolitical dimensions and potential for global repercussions, is a nuclear at that. It is a matter of significant concern for the international community. As countries take sides and provide aid to Ukraine, the risk of an unintended escalation looms large. Moreover, the possibility of China taking advantage of the situation to assert itself in the Taiwan Strait and to take Taiwan adds another layer of complexity to this evolving crisis. So it's like an intricate web that's being weaved of international relations and power struggles. Sounds like Matthew 24. It is essential to consider the historical and biblical dimensions. The desire for self-determination and self-freedom and sovereignty, as seen in Ukraine's struggle, resonates with biblical themes of freedom and justice. Okay. However, it is equally crucial to recognize the geopolitical motivations of both leaders like Putin and Zelensky, who seek to reshape the world order to their advantage. So the world stands at a crossroads where diplomacy and international cooperation and a deep understanding of both geopolitical and moral dimensions are essential to navigate the dangers of this Russian-Ukraine conflict and its potential global ramifications. Again, Revelation chapter 9 comes into play. What could be this dangerous situation could spark World War III, and the uh, rise to the Sixth Trumpet War. This is the time we're in. So you have to pray, guys. I guess you have to pray. And so what I'm saying is I don't trust this meeting at all. I don't. I just sorry, but I just don't trust this meeting at all that's taking place today with Zelensky and Biden. It's just crazy. Oh, guys, I want to let you guys know I am going to be on the Jim Baker Show Monday and Tuesday next week. Let's see if I can. Yeah, let me just double check that and make sure there was no change in the schedule. I went there a couple weeks ago. And filmed, and yes, I will be the guest on the Jim Baker Show Monday, September 25th for a whole hour, and Tuesday, September 26th for a whole hour. It's airing on television everywhere the Jim Baker Show is on, and he's on a lot of channels. So if you have, I'm sure if you have Daystar or if you have TBN or a lot of other different Christian networks, you'll probably be able to see it. Okay. If not, you can always go to thejimbakershow.com and watch it online on those 2 days. Okay. So either way, guys, I tell you what, it is crazy what's going on. Do you see there's so many complex, intricate parts, moving parts that nobody knows who to trust? I'm going to make a prediction for you. Zelensky went to Congress today, and then he goes to see President Biden, and Biden is going to he's going to have an open checkbook. He's just going to say, what do you need? How much cash and how much military equipment do you need? Then he'll send Zelensky over to the Pentagon, where Zelensky will meet with the top military brass of our nation, and they will strategize a plan, and they will also discuss how much military equipment they need. And then Zelensky will just ask for as many billions as he can get of cash of U.S. taxpayer money. Meanwhile, our defense system to protect the southern border is nowhere to be seen. 4,000 immigrants came across the border in one day yesterday in one location. Wide open, trainloads of people from Venezuela, and the razor wire and stuff's cut, clipped, and pulled back, and opening a wide open path. Unbelievable that that's going on right now. That's it. So as we spend billions of dollars, trillions of dollars before it's over in Ukraine, we are not protecting our own selves in the southern border. And that's why terrorists are coming through. They're coming in from 180 different nations now. A lot of Chinese. All of the people coming are military age men. They're between ages of 21 and 30. I mean, I yesterday I just sat and watched it, and I seen so many going through, and I said, and every blue moon I saw a family, what looked like a husband, a wife, and some children. Okay, but the majority, I'm talking 90%, were military age men. And you got to wonder, what does that all mean? I just don't. It's like an invasion. It really is. And instead of going down there, changing the policies back to what Trump had, which worked, and finishing building the wall and sealing this thing down and really getting it under control to where the amount of people who actually get through would be very limited, and using our resources for our own defense, we are playing into the enemy's hand. We really, really are. So pray for America. It looks like this is the final countdown, the road to revelation. And that webinar will be so important. I mean, so important. You don't want to miss it. It's Friday night, October 13th. That's when it will launch at 6 p.m. in the evening. We will, every person who got a ticket, we will send you your link to the entire webinar. It's going to be crazy. Today, I'm interviewing Pastor Mark Biltz, and then I'm going to interview the French American from Hawaii, Michelle Dany, who is putting together for you an incredible presentation on the 6 seals, the 6 trumpets, and the 6 vials of God in his presentation that I know. And I can't remember what Mark Biltz's is. It's one of the chapters in Revelation, but you know it's going to be phenomenal. And he'll go where, and of course these guys have freedom to go wherever they want to as well, and they do. So this will be great. This is I'm going to say, everybody says, Paul, you say this is the best webinar ever. And then after it comes out, they say, wow, yeah, well, maybe it was. It was insane. I mean, really, the aliens above and below was really, really good. And everyone who got it knew it. Deep Impact, I thought, was amazing. And last year, Armies of the Antichrist, I thought was just incredible. I think that this is gonna be right there in that same level, because you got 11 speakers, and they are some of the best biblical scholars in the world, and they have different perspectives, which gives you a good variety of information. Every one of them have certain revelations that they have received from the Lord on the end times. It's pieces of prophecy coming together to help us all understand it. Certainly, you can't deny, folks, you can't deny that we're in the last days. So all I know to do is keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to be in Solid Rock Church. They're having a conference. I think it's, I want to say it's October the 5th through the 8th, something like that. 5th, 6th, 7th, 5, 6, 7. I'm preaching Sunday morning the 8th, okay? So maybe it starts on the 4th. Either way, check it out, Solid Rock Church. I'll be there in Birmingham, Alabama with Pastor Larry Ragland. That's really going to be good. So once again, I'll be the wandering preacher man. John spent his days walking up and down the Jordan, making a pathway for the Lord. He cried out to the people, a message of repentance, kingdom, heaven in his words. Confess your sins, the time is right. Come on in and get baptized. On the side of redemption you will stand. This was the mission of John the Baptist, a wandering preacher man. On the road to Damascus, the trouble in his heart, Saul was the meanest this guy around. And the good Lord saw right through him. It was time for a change. In a flash of light, he knocked him to the ground. He would never be the same, so he spread the truth with his new name. Message of redemption across the land. This was the mission of an apostle named Paul, a wandering preacher man. Walk from town to town, teaching truth to the people. The author of creation, flesh and bone. He showed the world the fullness of his glory. He called all the sinners to come home. The Son of God had been sent. He was crucified, then he rose again. Our redemption resting in his hands. This is the message of our Lord Jesus, a wandering preacher man. Preacher man, our Lord was a preacher man. Oh, that's right. Thank the good Lord. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. Give your life to Jesus Christ, folks. We're running out of time. I'll be back. I'm going to go live again at 12:30. So I'll see you guys 12:30 Eastern right here on the Coming Apocalypse.